Do you remember growing up when malls were a bigger deal than they are right now? A lot of people went to the malls, and when the weather outside was not great,
was frightful.
Will East people would go to the mall for walking. The old mall walkers would they would make their loops. They'd be able to go from J.C. Penney on one end to TJ Maxx on the other end, and then loop back around by the Sound Shop and by Factory Connection and the Corn Dog 7. Like just on a big loop and get there.
Maybe a stop at Walden Books. I don't know. I don't know if I'll have time.
Walden Books, but there were certain things that had to be shielded on the top shelf of the magazine rack at Walden Books. If I remember correctly back in the day. But who knew that mall walkers were going to be the definitive answer as to whether or not horns down was going to be a penalty in the SEC? Here's John McDay.
We've talked a lot about that in our officiating group since I've taken over in the 2020 season. And to be unsportsmanlike conduct, I'm asking my officials to use a framework of judgment where the act to be a foul needs to be in one of three buckets. It needs to be taunting an opponent, it needs to be a travesty of the game, or it needs to otherwise compromise our ability to manage the game. What's a travesty of the game, right? It's just a phrase. I asked my officials, the act itself needs to be offending to the senses. If you took that act out of a football stadium and did it in a shopping mall or a grocery store, would it offend the senses to a majority of the reasonable people in the area, right? That signal would not, right? You might have some people that share that signal with you if you did that at a grocery store or in a shopping mall, depending where you are. So it's very much we're going to evaluate it in context. I could see a scenario. I want to be very cautious about using hypotheticals, right? But I could see a scenario where an opponent of Texas makes a big play in celebrating with his teammates, possibly going back to the sideline. They're giving the signal. It's not taunting. It's not making a travesty of the game. It's not affecting our ability to manage the game.
That is an exceptional answer from John McDay.
Yeah.
If Grand Mall, who is walking in the mall to get her steps in, would not be offended by horns down, then why should we be throwing a flag?
My first thought, though, is if we're going to throw a flag at the travesty of the game, they should be throwing flags on themselves the whole game. The officiating's a travesty.
Oh, wow. Taunting, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. And I think we were all in agreement that the definitive, do you throw a flag or not, is are you taunting? And no different than in the days when Ole Miss's defense was good and the land shark was a big part. Mm-hmm. If you got up over an opponent and you dropped a land shark on over him while you were standing over him, you're going to get flagged. If you scored a touchdown on the Florida Gators secondary and then you turned and tauntingly Gator chomped in their face, you're going to get a flag. Well, if you sack Quinn Ewers and then you stand over him and you drop a horns down, you're going to get a flag, and you deserve one. But if you're going off the field in a group and everybody's jumping around and you drop a little horns down, you're good. It's not a penalty, and sorry, Texas, if that's too sensitive for you. Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, I had a friend ask me about this. He's like, why are people, why did he even get asked that? And I said, because you don't understand, apparently. In the Big 12, they did penalize the gesture. They just, even if you were with your team, what was the quarterback at West Virginia that got a penalty when he was on the sidelines doing it? Not on Texas's sideline.
Yeah.
On his own. Like, he scored a touchdown. He was through the end zone on the sideline.
It wasn't Will Greer, was it?
It wasn't Will Greer, was it?
It may have been Will Greer.
Yeah.
Is he the one that went to Austin and won?
Maybe.
Regardless, the Big 12 did penalize it. And so, I mean, joking around about it, but it's a real thing. They actually protected Texas's feelings in the Big 12. It's good to hear that they're not protecting their delicate little feelings in the SEC.
Football doesn't care about your feelings.